The Galactic Council chamber on Allura Prime resembled a cathedral carved from obsidian and starlight. Suspended in low orbit above a neutral gravity well, it was meant to inspire awe and subjugation. Every species that had survived long enough to develop faster-than-light travel had bent knee here. All except one. Commander Cade Rourke stood at the rear of the chamber, back straight, arms crossed. He wore a standard diplomatic Navy uniform with Earth's silver crest pinned over his heart. To the gathered delegates, he was little more than a formality, a ceremonial guard dog dragged into bark if needed. No one expected the dog to bite. Let the record show, droned the gelatinous Orin speaker, Earth's presence today is symbolic only. As they have refused to sign the disarmament accord, we will proceed under observation. Murmurs followed. The Threk ambassador let out a chittering laugh that echoed like dry leaves in wind. Beside him, the multi-eyed Plonari ambassador smirked, whispering, "Primitive species always cling to weapons. It's how they compensate." Cade didn't respond. He just stared at the council's central dais, where High Counselor Tsar Val stood with the serene smugness of a being who had never lost anything worth protecting. Tsar raised one long, skeletal hand. "Brothers. Sisters. You know my stance. The humans, though bold in exploration, remain unstable. Their culture is steeped in war. Their films glorify violence. Their history is a timeline of blood. It is compassion, not suspicion, that compels us to ask they disarm." Compassion? Cade nearly laughed aloud. Instead, he tilted his head and gave a small, unreadable smile. He knew a trap when he saw one. This wasn't diplomacy, it was stagecraft. And he'd seen the real script. Back in his quarters, minutes before the session, Cade had accessed encrypted logs buried in Council military archives. Logs that weren't supposed to exist. One of them was labeled Operation Glassveil. It detailed the use of Council-hired mercenaries, disguised in stolen Earth uniforms, to attack an outlying alien colony. The plan: blame Earth, frame them as aggressors, and demand a galactic response. Neat. Clean. Justified. If it worked. Tsar's voice rose. "We believe Earth has suffered deeply from its turbulent past. That their fear of further pain makes them cling to arms. This is not a judgment, but a diagnosis." Cade stepped forward, finally drawing eyes. His voice was calm. "Interesting diagnosis, coming from a species that uses telepathy to interrogate children." Gasps rippled across the chamber. Tsar turned his narrow face toward Cade, silver eyes cold. "Commander Rourke, your presence is permitted, not required. If Earth wishes to rebut, let your ambassador speak." "Our ambassador is under surveillance," Cade replied. "I'm not here for rebuttals. I'm here for facts." He tapped a small projection pad. A hologram flickered to life beside him, footage of Council Black Ops ships moving through restricted space. The timestamp matched the classified file. A Plonari tech vessel, non-military, was being escorted by warships bearing no flag but Council transponder IDs. 3 days ago, Cade said. A convoy of unregistered ships entered human-aligned space. They didn't answer hails. They weren't supposed to be there. And they were carrying forged Terran uniforms and colonial accents downloaded from entertainment feeds. The room turned colder. Tsar didn't blink. "This is fabrication. It's projection," Cade said. "You've painted us as scared, war-torn animals. But we didn't come here to fight. We came here to see how long we could pretend not to notice." The silence was heavy. Then, Tsar chuckled. "Commander Rourke, your flair for melodrama is noted. Earth has always been dramatic. But surely, even you understand peace must come through disarmament." "No," Cade said flatly. "Peace comes from knowing when not to draw first, and when to make damn sure you're not the last one standing." Tsar took a step closer to the projection, eyes scanning the footage. Cade added, voice quiet now, "I know what Glassveil is. I know what you're planning. And I know who dies if we keep pretending Earth is too afraid to act." The High Counselor's eyes narrowed. His smile was gone. Cade walked back toward the gallery, pausing beside the Plonari ambassador who had earlier mocked Earth. "You ever fight a war, ambassador?" he asked casually. The alien bristled. "Our species outgrew such savagery cycles ago." Cade nodded. "Then you should pray we never forget how to wage one." He left the chamber without another word. Back in his quarters, he transmitted the last of the files to Earth's intelligence nexus. His message was short. "Glass veil active. Umbra Protocol advised. They think we're scared. Let them." He looked out the viewport at the endless dark, stars like distant eyes watching from the deep. They thought humanity feared conflict. They were about to learn we trained for it. The scent of polished metal and ozone filled the council's observation lounge, a hollow chamber draped in illusion, plants that weren't real, oxygen levels that mimicked Earth's, and stars that never moved. Commander Cade Rourke sat across from Earth's ambassador, Leanne Graves. She wore the same pinched smile she always did during monitored meetings, eyes flicking to the ceiling with every third sentence. "We appreciate the Council's efforts," she said, carefully enunciating. "Earth is eager to cooperate." Cade nodded. "Cooperation's important." She poured him a cup of synthetic tea, her hand lingering a fraction too long near his. Morse code. 1 tap. 2 taps. Pause. Surveillance active. 2 listeners. Keep playing. Cade lifted the cup, met her gaze. "Remember our last chess match?" he said. "You sacrificed your queen on move 12. Ballsy call." Graves raised an eyebrow but followed his lead. "Sometimes the queen's just a distraction. The real trap is in the knight's angle." Cade smiled faintly. Message received. He sipped, then rose. "Thanks for the tea. I'll review our notes." The moment he exited the lounge, his smile vanished. In the privacy of his quarters, deep inside a shielded section of the Earth Embassy, Cade activated the counter-surveillance dampeners. Blue light pulsed across the room in a slow heartbeat rhythm. Artificial silence. He spoke into the terminal. Encrypted uplink to Earth intelligence. Confirm Umbra Protocol. Authorization Rourke 6 Sulu. The system blinked. Umbra Protocol, confirmed. Deployment code active. Awaiting trigger. He hesitated. Triggering it meant no turning back. But the footage didn't lie. The Operation Glassveil files were too detailed. Too deliberate. And Earth's border colonies were days away from being burned under false pretenses. He uploaded the rest of the intercepted orders, mercenary ship IDs, false Earth insignias, route plans. Council fleets were already in motion. Later that evening, the Council hosted a formal reception in the orbital garden. Dozens of species stood under the projected stars, sipping multicolored drinks and pretending the universe was civil. Cade moved among them, expression blank but eyes scanning constantly. Across the garden stood High Counselor Sarval, speaking to the Threk dignitary. The two shared a knowing glance. Then Sar broke away, walking directly to Cade. "You're not drinking," the Vraxi observed, hands behind his back. "Bad habit," Cade replied. "Makes it easier to lie." Sar smiled. "You think I'm lying? I think you're playing a very dangerous game. One that ends with glass cities and quiet graves." Sar stepped closer. "Tell me, human, why the obsession with survival? You persist like a virus. Tenacious. Inelegant. Surely you know you're outmatched." Cade's gaze didn't waver. "You mistake silence for submission. But we don't shout before the first shot." Sar's voice lowered. "Your defiance is noted. But understand, when the attack comes, you'll be blamed. Earth will become the pariah species. And in the end, no one will remember who started it. Only who finished it." Cade leaned in slightly. "You're right. They won't remember the beginning. Only how fast your fleets burned." That night, Cade sat on the edge of his bunk, staring at a hologram photo of Earth. The blue marble hung suspended in a black sky, still beautiful, still fragile. He hadn't been back in years. Hadn't walked under real rain, heard birds that weren't digital echoes. If Tsar's plan succeeded, Earth wouldn't just be framed, it'd be erased. He activated the next transmission. This one wasn't for Earth. Deep in Council space, a stealth drone blinked to life. Its trajectory was pre-programmed, a one-way trip to the outer asteroid field surrounding Allura Prime. Inside, a dormant network of Earth's hidden AI-controlled defense fleet lay cold and silent, buried in space debris, cloaked, forgotten by most. They called it the Umber Ring. Cade's voice came through the transmission, Umber Protocol confirmed. Wake the wolves. The next morning, the Council gathered again. This time, the vote was scheduled, Earth's full disarmament or forced sanctioning. Cade arrived early. Too early. He stood near the same corner seat as before, arms folded, eyes watching each representative file in. Tension buzzed like static. Everyone expected compliance. Tsar entered last, flanked by 3 armed guards in ceremonial armor. Final vote, the Council speaker announced. Is Earth willing to sign the accord? The chamber turned to Cade. He walked slowly to the central platform. No notes. No ambassador. Just a man who'd seen too many wars to be impressed by decorative armor. I have no speech, he began. No apologies. Just a warning. Some delegates scoffed. Others leaned forward. I know what you're planning. I know about the false attack. I know about the Council's own ships disguised as ours. And I know your mistake. He paused. Let the silence stretch. You assumed humans fear conflict. He tapped the data node clip to his belt. Instantly, the room filled with live footage, dozens of ships dropping from faster-than-light across fringe colonies. The mercenary ships wore Earth flags, but not the ones the real Earth fleet used. An older version. A detail no alien would notice, but every human would. Next, he showed Council encryption traces embedded in the fleet's core routing code. Proof. Gasps rippled. The speaker stood, demanding verification. Tsar didn't speak. His eyes were locked on Cade, cold and calculating. But something flickered behind the Vraxis comm. Cade saw it. Doubt. Then, a small tremor. Not in the room. In the station itself. Distant rumbling echoed through the metal bones of Allura Prime. The Umber Ring was waking up. Cade leaned into the mic. We didn't come here to beg for peace. We came here hoping we wouldn't need to show you what we're capable of. They struck at dawn, not Earth's dawn, but the standard galactic cycle calibrated to Council Standard Time. The artificial sun hadn't risen yet on the outlying colony of Varelli's 9, a small civilian mining post under Terran protection. The first blast vaporized the comms tower. No warning. No demand. The second tore through the main dome, decompressing half the colony. Security cams caught it all, sleek black ships marked with Earth insignia swooping in like birds of prey. Soldiers in Terran armor. Rifles firing plasma bolts engineered to match Earth tech signatures. But their movements were wrong. Too stiff. Too rehearsed. Any Earth commander watching would have spotted it in seconds. Within an hour, footage flooded the Council's data stream. Headlines rolled across holofeeds. Earth attacks civilian site. Terran aggression confirmed. Panic swept through the chamber on Allura Prime as Tsar Val summoned an emergency vote. This is what we feared, he declared, his voice solemn. Earth has violated our trust. They must be contained. Council members shouted over one another. Some called for sanctions. Others demanded immediate strikes. A few hesitated, those who'd seen Rourke's warning the day before, but none dared speak over the chaos. Except one. Commander Cade Rourke walked into the chamber with calm steps, flanked by 2 silent aides. No armor. No weapons. Just presence. He approached the center platform and tapped a small device. The chamber lights dimmed. A single feed played above them. It wasn't the attack footage. It was the same ships preparing to launch, 12 hours before the strike. Their launch bay, an unregistered council station. Timestamps matched. More damning, the IFF transponders were still broadcasting encrypted council codes. Cade's voice was even. Before you finish condemning Earth, you might want to know whose fingerprints are on the murder weapon. Silence dropped like a stone. Then another feed. Tsar's flagship. Internal comms recorded a day earlier. His voice, proceed with glass veil. Hit them hard, blame them faster. Gasps filled the chamber. Tsar stepped forward. This is fabrication. Human trickery, deepfake, simulated voice print. Confirmed authentic, the speaker interrupted. Multiple forensic AI signatures verify origin. Your ship. Your voice. The High Counselor's eyes narrowed. His mask of calm cracked. You played this well, Commander, he said slowly. But you forget, Earth stands alone. Do you really think your species can survive what's coming? Cade stepped off the platform. We're not alone. We're prepared. As if on cue, a low tremor rattled the council chamber. Not from inside. From outside. A wall lit up with a system-wide broadcast, ships decloaking across the asteroid field. Hundreds. Sleek, angular, built for stealth and speed. Each bore the insignia of Earth's Umbra defense ring, fleet markers that hadn't been used since the War of Synthetics. Station sensors flared. Council defense networks scrambled to respond. Too late. Cade turned to the room. You thought we'd come here unarmed? We learned our lesson after the first contact massacre. We don't disarm, we hide. We don't bark, we wait. Ambassadors stared in shock as reports came in, council installations going dark. Orbital weapons silenced. Umbra ships had already penetrated internal defense layers. Stand them down. Tsar shouted. Council defense grid, engage suppression. No response, a tech officer said, pale. They bypassed our systems. Rewrote them. The council speaker faced Cade. Is this a declaration of war? No, Cade said. It's the end of your lie. Earth didn't fire first, but we made damn sure we'd fire last if needed. Tsar lunged toward a control panel. Then let's finish it. Before his fingers reached the trigger, a blast rang out. Not plasma. Not alien. A kinetic slug buried itself in the console next to Tsar's hand, fired from a compact rail pistol, non-lethal but loud enough to freeze the room. Cade holstered the weapon. That was a warning. The next one rewrites history. Tsar stopped. Everything stopped. The speaker turned slowly. By council law, if an elected official commits treason, they are stripped of immunity and subject to immediate tribunal. Cade nodded. Start it. Council guards approached Tsar. He didn't resist. But his expression said everything, this wasn't over. Just delayed. Outside the chamber, Earth's stealth fleet powered down weapon systems. Orders from Cade pulsed through the net. Hold formation. Stay dark. Do not engage unless fired upon. Across Earth's colonies, systems flickered back online. Civilian ships resumed operation. Panic settled into cautious silence. On Alora Prime, the tide had turned. That evening, Cade stood alone at the same viewport he'd stared out from days ago. Stars blinked indifferently back at him. A faint reflection showed his face, tired, unreadable. Leanne Graves joined him quietly. You bought us time, she said. No, Cade replied. We just stopped pretending. She placed a hand on his shoulder. The council won't forget this. They won't dare. They stood in silence. Somewhere behind them, Tsar was being led into a tribunal chamber. Justice would be slow. Political. Messy. But it would come. And Earth had made its point. High above Alora Prime, space rippled. Dozens of Council warships, still unaware of the tribunal unfolding below, closed formation and armed their weapons. A command had been issued from Tsar's network cache, an automated final directive. Earth strikes first. Engage immediately. The fleet believed the lie. They didn't know their commander had already been stripped of authority. They didn't know Earth had planned for this exact move. In the asteroid field surrounding the station, Umbra fleet didn't blink. Not one ship moved. Not a single energy surge betrayed their readiness. They simply waited. On board the command ship Mistral, Earth AI Overseer Raven pulsed a signal through the darknet. Hostiles moving to engage. Probable misunderstanding. Proceed with non-lethal neutralization grid. Hidden satellites activated across the field, old relics from a forgotten war. Gravity anchors. EMP coils. Burst nullifiers. All silent until now. The Council fleet closed in. Then space cracked open. A gravity net snapped across their formation like a steel trap. Engines died. Shields overloaded. Hundreds of ships froze mid-flight, stuck in a silent snare with no enemy fire exchanged. They weren't destroyed. They were disarmed. On Alora Prime, the Council chamber lit up with live feeds. Ambassadors gasped as they saw their fleet immobilized in perfect symmetry. No explosions. No screaming. Just silence, and Earth's Umbra ships hovering outside, untouched, untouched, untouched. Commander Cade Rourke stepped to the center floor for the final time. "This is your reminder," he said, eyes scanning the stunned crowd. "We didn't come to conquer. We didn't come to retaliate. We came to prove a point." The speaker rose, still pale from the shock. "And that point is?" "That humans don't fear war," Cade answered. "We respect it. That's why we're better at it than you." Murmurs spread through the chamber, but no one spoke loud enough to challenge him. He walked to the edge of the Council ring, pausing beside the Plonari ambassador, same one who had mocked Earth days ago. "You said we glorify violence," Cade said. "What we do is prepare for it. And pray we never need it." The Plonari didn't respond. He couldn't. An hour later, High Counselor Tsar stood before a tribunal of 12 species. No lawyers. No fanfare. Just evidence. The footage Cade had uncovered played again, Tsar's own voice authorizing Operation Glass Veil, timelines aligned to the minute, attack ships launched under Council transponder codes. He didn't deny the facts. Instead, he looked up and said, they were rising too fast. Earth was changing the balance. I only sped up what would happen anyway. The tribunal chair, a crystalline Vedhari, answered coldly. You didn't fear Earth. You feared losing control. They voted unanimously. Tsar was stripped of all political status. He would be held for sentencing by a neutral tribunal, one Earth was now invited to oversee. Later, in the diplomatic wing, Leanne Graves handed Cade a secured data pad. Message from Earth. You've been offered full reinstatement. Admiral, if you want it. Cade glanced at it, then placed it face down on the table. I'm not ready to put the uniform back on. You wore it the whole time, she replied softly. He said nothing. Outside, Mistral remained in position, quietly observing the crippled fleet still trapped in Earth's gravity net. No demands were made. No territory was claimed. Earth had demonstrated capability, not conquest. And that terrified the Council more than any war ever could. 2 days later, Earth's delegation was promoted to the Strategic Advisory Circle, an emergency seat previously reserved for superpowers like the Zal or the Red Ari Collective. Some species protested. Most didn't dare. At the induction ceremony, Cade stood before a crowd of dignitaries, no longer the misunderstood ape in the corner. He looked over them and spoke plainly. You tried to label us, he said. You thought violent meant reckless. You thought primitive meant stupid. You thought silence meant weakness. He tapped the data pad again, now broadcasting to every allied system. But what you didn't understand is that Earth isn't quiet because we fear conflict. We're quiet because we remember it. We carry the cost in our bones. And when we act, we don't shout. We finish. No applause followed. Just understanding. And fear. Kate left the podium, stepped into the corridor, and exhaled for the first time in hours. Leanne waited there, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. So, what now? He smiled faintly. Now? We give them something new to fear. What's that? A human who's finally done pretending. Final log, Earth Umbra Protocol Archive. The Galactic Council declared humans feared conflict. That belief lasted exactly until the day we didn't.